There are moments in music history where stepping into someone's shoes doesn't just feel difficult, it feels impossible. Now imagine stepping into the shoes of a legend so untouchable, fans believe no one should ever try. That's exactly what happened when Anika Nilles walked into a room and sat behind a drum kit that once belonged to Neil Peart. This wasn't just a performance, this was a test of legacy. This is the story of Anika Nilles and the heaviest drumsticks in rock history. The moment she stepped out of her comfort zone and into a shadow that spans decades, because joining Rush wasn't just another opportunity, it was an impossible invitation. When Anika was called to step in, this wasn't about replacing a drummer. It was about stepping into the space left behind by a man who redefined music itself. Neil Peart wasn't just a drummer. He was precision, complexity, perfection, a man who never repeated himself, a man who turned every performance into a masterpiece. And after his passing in 2020, fans believed one thing was certain: no one should ever take that seat again. But then, rehearsals began, and that's where the real challenge started, because the pressure didn't just come from fans, it came from inside the room. Every note mattered, every transition mattered. Every mistake would be noticed. In Rush, drums weren't background sound, they were the backbone. And now, Anika was sitting in the very spot where that backbone was built. Here's the truth no one wanted to say out loud. What she was being asked to do was borderline impossible. Neil Peart's drumming wasn't just rhythm, it was storytelling. Time signatures changed so smoothly you wouldn't even notice unless you were a musician. And now Anika faced a brutal choice: copy him perfectly and lose her identity, or change anything and face backlash from millions. Either way, she couldn't win. As rehearsals continued, doubt crept in. Not loud, not dramatic, but quiet and dangerous. Even inside the band, questions started forming. Was this the right decision? Could anyone truly do this? Or were they trying to replace the irreplaceable? But here's where everything changed. Instead of backing away, Anika Nilles leaned in. She studied hours of footage. She broke down every pattern, not just to learn what Neil played, but to understand why he played it. Because anyone can copy notes, but understanding the mind behind them, that's something else entirely. Then came the moment that would define everything. The stage, the lights, the audience. Thousands of fans who knew every single note Neil Peart had ever played. And just like that, the performance began. At first, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't identical. And strangely, that's when things started to change. Because Anika didn't try to become Neil Peart. She did something different. She interpreted him. She kept the structure, respected the complexity, but added just enough of herself to make the music feel alive again. And just like that, the audience split. Some people saw courage, others saw risk. Some called it evolution, others called it disrespect. Because this was never just about skill, it was about legacy. And legacy doesn't accept change easily. But here's the truth. The greatest challenge Anika Nilles faced was never the drums. It was the expectations, the pressure, the comparisons, the weight of history sitting right behind her every single night. Because this story was never about replacing Neil Peart. It was about something bigger. What happens when you stop trying to replace a legend and start trying to honor one? That's the moment everything changes. And that's the moment Anika Nilles became more than just a drummer. She became the next chapter of a legacy that refuses to end. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think anyone can ever truly step into Neil Peart's shoes? Or should some legacies be left untouched forever?